The examinees were shocked upon receiving their examination papers. Each paper was blank, completely white with no visible questions. Although confused, none of the candidates spoke up, as they had been given 3 golden rules before the test began. 1. Do not speak to the examiner or the guard. 2. Do not spoil the examination paper, whether knowingly or unknowingly. 3. Leaving the examination hall would result in immediate disqualification. The examiner informed them that there was 1 question and 1 answer. He asked if anyone had any questions, but no one responded, aware that speaking to him would lead to disqualification. He started the test timer and left the room. The candidates stared at their blank papers, stunned and unsure of what to do. They knew that those who passed the test would receive a job contract with a weekly salary of $1 million and up to 80 years of life in paradise. However, passing the test would not be easy. An impatient Asian woman began to write, thinking that those who read the book would be impressed. But before she could finish, the guard silently dragged her out. Her actions had spoiled the paper. Observing this, the remaining candidates put down their pencils in shock, and the pressure in the room increased. One examinee suddenly burst out laughing, realizing that the examiner had only given them 3 rules. He guessed that as long as they didn't violate these rules, they wouldn't face any problems. To be sure, he also discussed his assumptions with the examinees nearby. Regarding the first golden rule, they thought that while they couldn't talk to the examiner or the guard, there was no issue with speaking to each other. The guard didn't react, so the man took courage, stood up, and began to move around. Unexpectedly, the guard remained silent. Seeing that his actions were permissible, the other examinees began to speak boldly. They wondered why the test paper was blank. A blonde woman suggested that perhaps the paper was written with a special element invisible to the naked eye. She proposed trying to view it under different lighting. They agreed and leaned the paper against the light, but after several attempts, nothing became visible. A black man suggested that perhaps they weren't using the correct color of light and proposed trying red and blue lights. The room only had white light, but the blonde woman noticed an emergency light that hadn't been turned on. They agreed to activate it. They turned off the white light, darkening the room, and blue lights flooded in. Eagerly, they examined the paper, but unfortunately, it remained unchanged. The man suggested that perhaps they still didn't have the right color of light. The woman with glasses noticed another hazard light. They activated it, and a red light illuminated the room. Still, nothing appeared on the paper, and the timer showed that only 60 of the 80 minutes remained. White decided to conduct another experiment, thinking the test paper might be special and not reactive to light. He tore the paper belonging to the previously expelled candidate, gave 1/2 to the black man, and told him to soak it with saliva. He tested the other half using urine. These actions ended up spoiling the paper, but still, no answer appeared. When White became impatient, he was surprised that one of the challengers hadn't stood up or spoken since the beginning. When they approached him, the man spoke his first words, but no one understood. He was talking about how to find the question, but due to the language barrier, his words were incomprehensible. White couldn't tolerate the incomprehensible language he was babbling. He claimed that the companies were making fun of them. Black agreed, suggesting that with the coveted $1 million weekly salary, the idea that Maricom was playing with them spread among the group. However, the woman with the glasses disagreed. She promised that the company wouldn't engage in such deception. She pointed out that the company urgently needed excellent and talented employees and was working hard to attract them. She encouraged them to refocus on the test. Since previous pen tests had failed, they thought that perhaps the question and answer would come from the guard. They decided to check if the rule was not to speak, but not to touch.